Hello and welcome to the Empress Podcast. I am your host, Jessica, known in the online space as Jess the Empress. I started this podcast to help you be present with yourself, cope with chaos, and simplify your life. I do this by combining psychology, behavioral science, and the tarot. I have a background in mental health, specifically a master's in clinical social work from USC, and I'm a professional tarot reader. So get ready to have a nurturing, creative, and empowering experience with me as we use practical magic. Hey love, before we get to today's episode, I want to ask you to rate and review my podcast. Giving me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would mean the world to me. I love knowing who's listening and what everyone is getting from the episode, so please take a moment of your time to share your thoughts, and I look forward to reading your reviews soon. Hey there, coffee lovers. Are you tired of settling for boring coffee? I have a treat for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Heartwork Coffee Bar, your one-stop destination for exceptional coffee experiences. Whether you're a coffee connoisseur or just someone who appreciates a great cup of joe, Heartwork Coffee Bar is here to elevate your coffee game to new heights. At Heartwork Coffee Bar, they take pride in their craft because each batch is carefully roasted to perfection, ensuring that every sip is a symphony of flavor. From the rich and the robust to the light and fruity, they have a coffee blend for every palate. And here's the best part. For you amazing podcast listeners, Heartwork Coffee Bar is offering an exclusive 10% discount on your purchase. Just use the code EMPRESS10 at checkout and you'll save big on your order. Why settle for ordinary when you can indulge in the extraordinary coffee from Heartwork Coffee Bar? Remember to use code EMPRESS10 for that special 10% discount and treat yourself to the coffee experience that you deserve. Don't miss out on this fantastic offer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks to Heartwork Coffee Bar for making today's episode possible. Now go grab your favorite mug, brew a fresh cup, and enjoy the podcast with the perfect companion, Heartwork Coffee Bar. Cheers. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am really grateful for this opportunity to chat with you today. We are going to get into a spicy topic, and it might make some of you feel a little uncomfortable, and maybe you're going to have your own, negative feelings about it or whatever, but let's get into it. Today's podcast episode is about not listening to stupid opinions. Far too often, I see my clients listening to people that have really no value in my clients' lives. Sure, a lot of people have a lot of opinions, and my clients, just like myself, tend to lean on a more empathetic side. And what this means is they're often more willing to listen to the people that are around them, and they do seek to understand perspective, and they seek to understand the individual at the core level. But the problem with this is that they're playing therapist when this person that they're listening to actually needs a therapist and not my client. You know what I mean? In today's society, everybody wants to believe that their opinion is valid and that it should be listened to. But the reality is that not all opinions are that important. Not all opinions are great, and some opinions are just flat out dumb. So you might be saying, well, I'm a really open-minded person, so that means I should listen to all the things that people have to say. Wrong. Being open-minded doesn't mean that you're listening to all 8 billion people on the planet. A tip that I learned 3 or 4 years ago that I have found really helpful is look at the people around you that you're listening to and assess their life. If they don't have at least 2 to 4 things, either within their physical reality or their emotional and mental reality that you admire, those are people you don't need to listen to. And I feel like it's important to really reflect on why are you listening, and then when are you making moves based on what it is that you're taking in. Discernment is so necessary, and I believe that a part of discernment is realizing that not everybody's opinion is important. When you stop listening to stupid opinions, you're going to save your time and your energy. And there's many different social situations where you just can't escape having to listen to stupid opinions. But there is a difference between passive listening and active listening. And when you find yourself confronted with a person that just has a lot of unimportant things to say, go ahead and default into passive listening. It is so okay to just nod your head and say, okay, cool. Reflect back something you heard from the last sentence and then just keep things moving. It might sound harsh, but the truth is not everybody has something to offer you. just like you don't have something to offer to everybody else in the world as well. So if we just neutral the playing field, there's no harm, no foul. Who you surround yourself with actually matters. Who you listen to matters. When the people around you don't have very similar worldviews or values, it can be frustrating because you might take in too much information and actually become a little bit, how can I say this, wishy-washy internally. You might take too much of what they say to heart. You might put more validity in what they're saying than you should. And this can create a lot of mental confusion. And as a result of that confusion, you might not be taking action the way that you should be taking action. And what I mean by that is aligned action. Instead, you might be taking scattered action or just flat out pointless action. Being open-minded means you use your discernment when you're listening to other people, and you don't allow yourself to get swayed by the things that really just don't matter and don't apply to your life where you are right now and also where you want to be. You only have one life and you only have so much energy. You don't need to give it to everybody. And trust me, I get it. If you spend a lot of time online, you're going to get indoctrinated with these ideas that every opinion matters and you should listen to everyone, and then you're going to find yourself playing therapist to people who need an actual therapist and not you as their listener or their audience. I just learned this statistic a few weeks ago, but something around only 20% of the population are actually self-aware. Think about that. Only 20% of people are self-aware. My partner and I talk all the time about how we get frustrated when we're trying to have these genuine conversations with people and there's just nothing happening in a way that we're like, okay, we can actually have a good back and forth and we can lean into this and create a stronger bond. He and I are often eye-rolling at a lot of things that a lot of people say, and we don't really feel shame about it. We don't feel bad about it because, again, I'm sure people are looking at us and they're eye-rolling about the things that we have to say, so it's all fine and good, you know? But my clients often become very clouded mentally with the opinions of other people because they have no ability to sit down and assess whether the opinion is a good one or a bad one. Another way you can look at this is deciding whether this opinion is helpful or unhelpful. A helpful opinion may push you out of your comfort zone, and it might be something, again, that you had never considered, but it also feels expansive. An unhelpful opinion might actually be a criticism, but something that you don't really understand is a criticism because it might be coming from someone you put on a pedestal, or you have this emotional buy-in thinking, oh my God, maybe we could be friends, you know, something like that. Don't even get me started on how many people get caught up in who should I pick based on all the lies that they're spinning and not the actions that they're showing. And this is why I say take a step back and reflect. Do they actually have things in their life in a way that is what you want, that mirrors the things that you admire and a lifestyle that you want to be living, or no? It's so important that you're less concerned about what other people think about you because being a good listener is a great quality, but you can also be taken advantage of because some people really do just want an audience no matter what they have to say. They could be saying anything. It doesn't have to be quality content. It could just be garbage. This is also why the skill of small talk is a good one to have in your pocket, because if the direction of the conversation starts to go towards something that is really not helpful for you, you can redirect it back with ease on small talk topics. But if you're not well versed in small talk, it's going to lead to uncomfortable silences or you just getting bulldozed over and then having to sit there and listen to somebody when you're like, please get me out of here. I feel like a great way to practice this is watching YouTube and listening to podcasts because there's a lot of opinions and a lot of podcasts out there. And I go through different podcasts all the time. And I'll listen to episodes before I follow a show just to see if I like the vibe of the person and if I like what they're saying. When we're using discernment, we understand that people do curate their lives online to look a certain way so that they get followers, so that they get the buy-in for their programs or whatever it is that they're selling. But still, I don't know that there's anything inherently wrong with that. Like, that's just sort of the game of social media. And I've definitely had my times where I've listened to certain things. I've even recommended certain things from my podcast, and people have changed just like I've changed. And I've unfollowed those podcasts because it wasn't serving me any longer. And generally speaking, you really don't want to listen to people that make you feel like crap all the time. But you'd be surprised how many people continue to listen to other people that make them feel like crap. I see it every single day. At least 2 or 3 times a day, I have clients that come to me asking about who this person is around them and what their intentions are and do they say what they mean. And I often have to sit down with them and explain that that opinion is based on this person's life. And again, are they living a life that you want? And my client will usually reflect and say, actually, no, there's really nothing here that I am inspired by or feeling peaceful by or that I really value. And I say, okay, why are you making it matter so much? Why are you making this person and their opinions matter? And they'll usually say, well, because I'm a good person and I don't want to be mean. And I'm like, look, protecting your energy isn't mean. It is okay to admit that other people just don't have something to offer you. Because you also don't want to offer them your time, your energy, or your heart. Be real. There's nothing wrong with being honest, and there's nothing wrong with being authentic. Our society makes us fearful because we don't want to offend anyone. That might be the worst possible thing that we could do today. And while I understand that we don't want to go around triggering people on purpose, admitting to yourself that some people just don't have anything to offer you is not a problem. It's not wrong. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you less caring. It does not make you a narcissist. It makes you discerning. As you go through this week, really check in with who you're listening to and why you're giving them so much power. If they don't have anything you want, maybe you could listen to them just out of pure entertainment instead of in a deep way where you're applying what they say to your life and you're trying to get some results from it. That whole take it with a grain of salt thing. Your mind, the way you think, the way you speak to yourself, it is really important. And you want to be surrounded by people who have that same type of care for themselves. If people are talking garbage to themselves, they're probably going to talk garbage to you as well. And while you can't control what other people say, you can control whether or not you actively listen. I love you. I hope this episode supports you, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye.